Welcome back to another edition of Easy Eats for Everyone. I'm Chef Stephanie, your culinary arts manager, and today we're going to make some red velvet whoopie pies with a cream cheese frosting. For our batter, we are going to need 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 stick of room temperature butter, 1 cup of some light brown sugar, 1 egg at room temperature. We're going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla and a tablespoon of some red food coloring. We are also going to need buttermilk, half of a cup. If you don't have buttermilk lying around the house, I am going to show you how to make your own buttermilk. You'll just need some milk and either lemon juice or some vinegar. Now for our filling, we are going to be using 2½ cups of powdered sugar, a 1/4 cup, which is what I have sitting over here, of this butter, so that is only half a stick, and that does need to be room temperature, as well as a 1/4 cup of some cream cheese at room temperature. We're going to splash a little milk in there and a little bit of vanilla. As far as the utensils that you will need, we're going to do some measuring cups and spoons, a hand mixer or a stand mixer, a mixing bowl. We're going to use some piping bags. If you don't have piping bags at home, you can use a Ziploc bag, and we'll show you how to cut off the end of it. You'll also need a parchment lined baking sheet and some fun either heart-shaped cookie cutters, or I cut out these designs here and we are going to trace around them. So this is everything you will need today, and we'll see you in a second. All right, we're gonna start by making our buttermilk because that will need to just sit for a moment. The measurements for buttermilk is 1 cup of milk to 1 tablespoon of either lemon juice or vinegar. We only need half a cup of buttermilk today, so we're just going to cut that recipe right in half. We will do half a cup of milk and half a tablespoon of lemon juice. We're going to measure those into our liquid measuring cup, give it a slight stir, and then we are just going to leave that for a moment to start to form the buttermilk mixture. When we measure liquid ingredients, we always want to make sure it's sitting down at the table and that we get down to eye level to make sure we've got a nice even measurement. There's my half a cup of milk. This is a half a tablespoon right here, and then we're just going to mix these together. The acidity from either your vinegar or your lemon is what is going to turn your plain milk into buttermilk. I'm just going to use this to stir. All right, you will actually need a whisk today. So I'm going to take our 2 cups of flour, our 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and then the 1/4 teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of baking powder. And we're just gonna dump all of these dry ingredients into one bowl and whisk them all together until they are combined. You're gonna notice that the cocoa powder is gonna turn your flour a light brown color. That's perfect. That's how you know that everything is mixing together very nicely. And once everything is combined, we're just going to set this to the side until we need it. We are taking a mixing bowl, and we only need the 1 stick right now. The half a stick is for our frosting, so we don't quite need that yet. Our directions say to beat this first for about a minute till it's nice and creamy. So I'm going to go ahead in my mixing bowl with my hand mixer and just kind of beat this up so that it's nice and soft. You're going to go ahead and do this for about a minute, so we will see you in a minute. All right, we've whipped our butter for about 1 minute. This is what it should look like. We are now going to add in our 1 cup of light brown sugar and go ahead and hand mix that as well until it is combined. Right, so we beat our sugar into our butter for about 30 seconds to a minute, just until everything is nice and combined. Now we are going to add our vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to do 1 egg at room temperature. Make sure to watch really good so that you don't get any shells in there. And if you're wearing gloves, make sure you change your gloves after touching the egg. And if you are at home, just go ahead and wash those hands. And then we are going to mix everything together. All right, next we are going to be adding in our red food coloring, as well as our buttermilk mixture, and then our dry ingredients. You also want to have a spatula nearby to scrape down the sides of the bowl so that everything is being mixed together as you're mixing. So I am going to gently pour in my buttermilk, And our recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of red food coloring. Now, food coloring gets all over the place very easily, so be very careful when you are handling the red food coloring. And we're going to go ahead and mix this on a very low speed to avoid any type of splashing. Once you see that everything is mixed, we are then going to go ahead and pour in our dry ingredient mixture that we whisked together earlier. And again, keeping it on that low speed so that we do not make a mess. We are slowly going to mix it together. I know it's not going to look like it's mixing too much in the beginning, but just be patient. And if you haven't already, we're actually going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees. And while that's preheating, we're going to start putting our batter into a piping bag. I have both a piping bag and a Ziploc bag here. If you were at home and all you had was a Ziploc, you're going to use just one corner of it to try and make that triangle shape of the piping bag. But we've got some piping bags here, so we're going to use this. I also have a glass. The glass is really handy in keeping it steady while you're trying to fill. It just makes it a little bit easier. So we're going to go ahead and stick that piping bag right down into the glass, and you're going to fold the outsides over, just like so. And then you're going to use your spatula to scoop in some of this batter very carefully. You can kind of push it down in there. All right, so you're going to take your cutouts of hearts, and we're actually going to put them underneath the parchment because we do not want to have paper on what we are eating. And then we're going to put the parchment on top. These hearts are going to act as our stencils. We're going to use them to trace that heart-shaped design. So your first step is going to be just doing the outside tracing. So you're going to carefully squeeze your piping bag. Make sure you've got that hand on the top so that nothing comes out of the top. And your bottom hand is kind of your guiding hand, just like that. So we're going to start with our heart design. So you want to fill it in. There's no right or wrong way. I'm just going to kind of keep following my little heart design until everything is filled in. All right, our oven has been preheated to 350 degrees. We're going to take a pot holder and go ahead and put these in right in the middle and set a timer for about 10 minutes. We'll see you in 10. All right, our 10-minute timer is up. I did keep them in for 1 more minute. We're gonna go ahead and let them cool for a bit, and then you can easily peel them off of your parchment paper. We're gonna pipe the frosting onto the inside. This is gonna be kind of like a sandwich. So this is gonna be our bottom. We took that cream cheese frosting from earlier and put it into a piping bag. Same thing as when we piped our cake. We are just gonna go ahead and trace that outside. And then you want there to be some filling in every bite, so make sure you fill in the center. After that, we'll take our other half, put it on top, and you could just leave it like this. Or if you have some sprinkles handy, I put some on a plate here, and you can just go ahead and dip the sides of the frosting into the sprinkles so that it'll stick. It's kind of hard to get the top, so you might just have to put those on with your hands. You can try and roll it around. Our red velvet whoopie pies are all done. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and thank you for coming to another edition of Easy Eats for Everyone, where cooking should be easy and fun for everyone.